If you study European households that lived through war, occupation, rationing, and blackouts, one detail appears again and again: light never came from above. Seniors who survived conflict zones did not rely on ceiling fixtures. They trusted table lamps, oil lamps, and localized light sources placed low and close. This wasn't nostalgia or habit. It was a survival adaptation shaped by war conditions, scarcity, and experience that modern homes quietly abandoned. Understanding why that preference existed reveals practical lessons that still apply today. European homes along warpaths treated light as a controllable tool, not a convenience. Across Europe during the First and Second World Wars, light discipline was enforced as strictly as food rationing. Ceiling lights were liabilities. A single overhead fixture illuminated an entire room, leaked through windows, and made homes visible from streets or air. Table lamps allowed households to restrict light to a single surface, often shielded or shaded, minimizing exposure. This practice was common from London to Warsaw, from Parisian apartments to rural Balkan homes. Seniors who lived through bombings learned quickly that light above eye level carried risk. Light kept low reduced silhouettes, reflections, and accidental visibility during blackouts. Localized lighting gave households flexibility when power was unreliable. Ceiling lights depended entirely on centralized power. When electricity failed, they failed completely. Table lamps, however, adapted easily to oil, candles, carbide, or later battery systems. In occupied territories where grids were damaged or deliberately shut down, families converted lamps overnight. A single lamp could move from table to bedside to workbench without rewiring or infrastructure. Seniors trusted these lamps because, well, they had watched ceiling lights become useless the moment power lines went down. Even after electrification returned, habits stayed because the memory of sudden darkness never left. This detail is often overlooked. Ceiling lights flood the eyes, flattening shadows and, exhausting vision during long evenings. Seniors who grew up before modern lighting standards worked under softer directional light. Table lamps illuminated only what mattered. Reading, sewing, repairing tools, and writing letters were done under controlled light cones. During wartime winters, when evenings were long and fuel was limited, this really mattered. Less light meant less fuel, less eye strain, and longer usable hours. Many veterans and civilians later complained that modern overhead lighting felt harsh and disorienting because it ignored this balance. War really changed the way folks experience space. A ceiling light, for example, just kind of dominates a room. It wipes out shadows and, honestly, takes away any sense of privacy. Table lamps, on the other hand, created these little islands of safety, right in the middle of all that chaos. Seniors, well, they often talked about sitting close to the lamp and how it made them feel grounded and contained. That was important, whether you were in a bomb shelter, a kitchen, or some kind of shared housing. A lamp could mark out personal space, even when there weren't any walls. That little bit of psychological comfort, it really helped reinforce trust. Even many decades later, a lot of seniors would just instinctively turn on a lamp before flipping a ceiling switch because, it felt calmer and more deliberate. The way folks arranged their furniture and used their rooms was really centered around lamps, not the ceiling fixtures. If you look at historical floor plans, it's pretty clear. Tables were placed near the walls, not smack in the middle under a light. Chairs were angled toward lamps. Work surfaces, well, those were all about getting the best from portable illumination. This meant rooms could change function real quick. A dining table could turn into a repair bench, or a bedside could become a writing desk, just like that. Ceiling lights, they pretty much locked rooms into these fixed layouts. But table lamps, well, they allowed for adaptation, which was absolutely essential back when homes doubled as shelters, workshops, and even infirmaries. Seniors, they trusted lamps because, honestly, lamps followed the work, not the other way around. Applying this kind of historical knowledge, it really does improve modern preparedness and, well, just daily living too. This isn't just academic, folks. Modern homes can quietly relearn these same principles. Keeping several table lamps with their own independent power sources makes a home a whole lot more resilient during outages. And placing lamps near your work areas instead of relying on just overhead lighting, it actually reduces energy use and helps cut down on eye strain. In blackout situations, simply shielding a table lamp with a dark shade or tucking it close to a wall can instantly recreate that wartime light discipline. Seniors who lived through conflict, they would instinctively lower the light, close the curtains, and work real close to the source. That habit, believe it or not, still outperforms many modern emergency setups. You know, survivalists and historians can learn a lot from how seniors layered their light sources. European households, well, they rarely relied on just one lamp. They layered them. A main table lamp, a secondary oil lamp, and candles as backup. That all created redundancy. Ceiling lights, though, offered none. This layered approach, honestly, it mirrors modern preparedness thinking. Applying this idea today means, well, treating lighting as a system, not just a fixture. One lamp for reading, one for movement, and one reserved for emergencies. Seniors didn't really articulate this as a strategy, they just lived it. Lighting choices, they reveal how civilians adapted faster than institutions. Governments imposed blackouts, but civilians refined them. Seniors trusted table lamps because, they had seen the consequences of visibility, dependence, and inflexibility. Their homes became, in a way, quiet lessons in resilience. When historians study warpaths, battle lines usually get all the attention. But inside homes, survival was shaped by choices as small as where the light came from. That detail, it really matters. If you value this kind of grounded, practical history that connects daily life to survival along Europe's warpaths, well, go ahead and subscribe to Warpaths of Europe. And share this with fellow historians and preparedness-minded folks who understand that real history, it lives in the details most people overlook.